Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about the Baldwin Burns Buzzaround Alike. The original Burns Buzzaround, it featured all germanium transistor construction for an authentic mid-60s style fuzz tone flavor. Now, the Mictester version, it uses an Op Amp integrated circuit chip for the first stage, but retains a germanium transistor for the output stage, so you end up with something that's very close to the original Burns Buzzaround, but with perhaps slightly less output noise or hiss. I went ahead and recorded a demo song which features the pedal extensively and exclusively. I also slapped together a little video to accompany the demo song. So I'm going to go ahead and roll out the latest offering. Then I'll return, talk a little bit more about the design, the modifications, the pedal, and thank you for joining me. Enjoy the demo. So what did you think of the video? And the song? Now, I just wanted to say, you know, I really didn't, I threw those tracks together and I kept hearing that, hey, that chant in there. So I multi-tracked that and pitch shifted it, offset it, got it to sound like a group. And then it sounded, you know, like military to me. I just kept getting that like marching image. And so I went looking at public domain footage and found that it was a propaganda film called War Comes to America, and that was what I edited together to make the video. But I'm really not a political guy. Obviously not a big fan of war or warfare, that type of stuff. I'll just say a musician by the name of Rob Fetters had a quote. He said being in a band is, you know, the opposite of being in war or warfare. And I thought, you know what, that's a great quote, and I obviously would much rather be in any band than be in any war. So I'll leave it at that. The recording, I just put this thing together. I boxed it up in an old DOD or Digitech flanger box. This was like the first pedal I ever bought. I still have the flanger. I rebuilt it. It still works. It's in a different chassis. A few things have been in this box, and the Burns Buzzaround Alike, I should say, is living in there now. I used my Fernandez guitar that has a sustainer in it, so those feedbacky kind of sounds that you're hearing are those are just the sustainer on with the octave mode. This is one of the basses that I use. It's my Riverhead Unicorn. This is my first bass. It's a headless bass, obviously. I replaced the pickups. It's got a guitar pickup in it. Have the tone rolled all the way back. Hey, Donna, would you grab the cacophonator? And there's some synthy kind of glitch type sound effect, little swashes that come in there. That's the cacophonator. If you're interested in that, I have a demo video for it. Here's the cacophonator. I just kind of tuned it up and fired it off a few times, and I did add a little bit of effect to a couple of those samples, not all of them. The very end, on the outro, I guess I'd call it, there's a tone that comes in. That's audio from another video of mine called Sneak Peek, where I have my Beast Noise synth. I had that idling. I just took that and tuned it with a pitch shifter to get it in A, and then added some reverb. Had it cut off with an extremely long Lexicon reverb plug-in. So that was the video and the demo. As far as the device goes, the Burns Buzzaround, it's based on, this is the Buzz Alike, like I was saying. The original Buzzaround is 3 germanium transistors, which could get a little bit more pricey. This just uses 1. I'm hoping that it'll be a little bit more, less sensitive to temperature extremes. I have a family band. We play in the woods in the summer, and when it gets real hot, some of the germanium boxes we've tried before, it's frustrating. So I'm thinking, well, this only using 1, and you know, I really wanted to build this anyway. I heard Robert Fripp was a fan of this device. It's similar to a Tone Bender Mark III and an Elka Dizzy tone. The controls on the original unit are timbre, balance, and sustain, which I have those on here. I also added a volume control. So it's odd. The controls are very interactive, and they really do, they affect each other. They're very, very interactive, and volume seems to vary too. It's at certain settings it gets quiet. I know that there are a few clones on the market, pricier clones for this. I'm not sure. I'm guessing those are all transistor units. I'm not sure if any of them. I'd be surprised if any of them used op amps. I did read some comments. I know Henry Kaiser is also a fan of this, and he had mentioned one of them was particularly very quiet. So maybe one of the clones is actually op amp design as well. When I first built this, I couldn't really get it to sound very good. I did not have the proper HFE or leakage transistor. And then I ended up coming back to it. I had obtained some more transistors. I tried a AC176. I think that's what's in here. It's an NPN. transistor. Anyway, that was the one. I think it was around 100 leakage, around same thing, 100, 120 gain, I think. And that's what's in here now. Now, if you are interested in putting one of these together, I would recommend you take a look at Guitar PCB. They're selling something called the Fuzzy Bee, I think it's called. And he has a transistor set as well. On sale, $8 for the PCB, and I think $17.95 for the transistors. Something like that, 18 and 8, you know. So good deal. Now, Robert Fripp, he is quoted in 1974 saying, the best fuzz box to use is a Burns Buzzaround, which they discontinued in England about 6 years ago. So that dates this to 1968, the original circuit. I need to thank Mictester, is the gentleman who originally designed this version of the circuit. If you go to freestompboxes.org, there's plenty of information, some pretty big threads of people messing around with these. Guy even tried to get a PNP version going with the op amp. I don't think that panned out for him, but plenty of information there. And Mictester also mentioned that he had somehow, he's from London, I think, and he was able to, he knows somebody that has the real deal, original Buzzaround. So he did a Pepsi challenge where they hooked up both of them, and he said that the op amp version is exactly the same. It sounds the same. It's just got less hiss, and it consumes less current. So if you're running something off batteries, now personally, I'm always a little bit leery about stuff like that. In this case, I'm betting, I'm 99.9% sure that this guy would have no reason to exaggerate, obviously. Why would he? Not in this community, people are generally extremely honest. So I am going to eventually, thinking about trying an all-transistor version. I have a pretty big collection of stuff like this here. Not necessarily germanium, I only have a few. So it'd be great to have an all-transistor version, try them out head-to-head. That's going to be really interesting. There'll definitely be a video for that. I thought I would read, I'm at Guitar Effects Layouts, Tagboard Effects, and I was going to read what Miro, or what Mictester wrote about the pedal. The legendary Burns Buzzaround was a slightly unusual germanium fuzz that achieved its undeserved reputation for two reasons. Some great guitarists used them, and they were virtually unobtainable. The original consisted of two stages, a two-transistor amplifier and a distortion stage that could have both the amount of signal sent to it and the bias point adjusted by external controls. The third control was a crude tone control which fed the output. Originally the output was unbuffered, and your leads and amplifier following would load the unit and the top end would be rolled off. Often the tone control would have little effect. The first stage in the sound alike is a high impedance op amp gain stage. You may wish to increase the gain by increasing the value of the feedback resistor, but it sounds pretty good as shown. So that's interesting. You can juice up the gain. That would give you a little bit more fuzz, maybe, a little bit more overall output. I'm not sure it's different. I would think it would be different from circuit to circuit. But he does point that out. You can squeeze more gain out of this puppy. Sounds pretty good as shown. In the original, the first stage didn't really have much effect on the sound. It just amplified the signal enough to drive the following stage in conduction. So what he's saying there is, probably would not have that dramatic of an effect messing with that resistor. Maybe you could squeeze a little bit more out of it. I'm guessing it would be a combination. Maybe a slight overall volume boost and a little bit more dirt perhaps. But compensating for that, stacking overdrive pedals or other fuzzes or using a hot output or active pickup guitar, there's all kinds of things you can do. For the recording, this was it. It was a single pedal, and then I use a Korg Pandora. Now, when I use this for recording, it's a USB interface. It's a very good little device, and I shut all the effects off. I just use a cabinet simulator. Without the cabinet simulator, it sounds a little harsh, a little too trebly or fizzy. So technically, you know, I do have this effect on, but it's only the cab sim. All that sounds like is running it through an amp, or, you know, I'm living in an apartment. In this particular case, I just used some headphones and made for a quick demo. The heart of the beast is the germanium transistor stage. Apart from using an NPN transistor, this remains true to the original. Why screw up a classic? What he's saying there is the original used PNP transistor, and the difference with that would be how the power hooks up. It's reverse as to normal. Normal is Boss standard, so you can daisy chain. You can connect the power from all your pedals on your pedal board to a single power supply, which is really convenient. If you have a PNP device, typically those are the other way around, so it gets a little more complicated. This is not the complicated style powering. It uses an NPN transistor, which could affect the tone a little bit. I know the guitar PCB version uses a charge pump, so it inverts the voltage on the circuit board. You know, you still power it with the normal thing, but the actual circuit is running flip-flop because it's got that inverter, power inverter, that's called a charge pump. So some purists, they swear by PNP transistors. In this case, you know, we'll see. We'll find out, because I'm gonna build that one eventually, and there will be a head-to-head video. It still gives a wide range of sounds, from thin toppy fuzz, beloved of the 60s bands, to gatory, spluttery farts with smooth, warm distortion sounds in between. The final stage is just a buffer. It isolates the tone circuit from the outside world and allows a full range of control from muffled to glass shattering, which is interesting. You know, one of the standout aspects of the Burns Buzzaround, or Mictester's Alike, is its flexibility. It's typically, these types of devices are pretty much one-trick pony, and most of the time you see people running them with, with the gain control turned all the way up, maximum sustain, maybe a little bit back to cut a little bit of the noise, the hum and hiss. But in this case, messing with the knobs, if you start turning them to extremes, and the combinations of the knobs give you separate usable tones. There's like 3 usable tones that from my short time of messing with it. I did adjust it a little bit, you know, when I switched off from 6-string guitar to the bass. There are plenty, I don't want to say plenty, there are some videos and clones that exist. Great video on this is a guy named Blonde Grammies. I'm not sure if that's how I pronounce his name. Blonde Grammies Stompbox Secrets, and he has an original, so I would recommend, if you're interested in this pedal, definitely check out his video. So I wanted to thank you again for supporting my channel. The comments, subscriptions, views, all that stuff, shares. I really do appreciate it, guys. It's a lot of work doing this stuff. You don't see all the millions it takes. You know, my wife over here sleeping on the floor. I gotta call the suicide hotline again. She's operating the camera again on this one today. So yeah, thank you very much. Special thanks to Roseblood. I forgot to mention it was his Vero layout that I used. And it works. That's what I got going in here, Roseblood's layout. I know that there's layouts at Tagboard Effects. Might be able to find, I know there's schematic floating around. Probably layout over at freestompboxes.com. I believe that might be the Roseblood layout. Who else do I need to thank? Blonde Grammy, thank you. Guitar PCB, Bruce, thank you for a wonderful service and wonderful product. That germanium fuzz face with the charge pump is fantastic. Couldn't be happier. So, enough of my yakking. Peace. I have